All right, folks, this is Marco Palmero, founder of Ulysses. My company helps private equity groups, search funds, advisors in sourcing deals. So motivated sellers that want to exit their business so that they can build a pipeline of multi-million-dollar opportunities and focus all their time on closing transactions instead of sourcing them. And today I want to talk with you about the M&A outlook, the mergers and acquisition outlook for 2025, 2026. We're at the end of 2025. And I think with the advent of AI, we're seeing artificial intelligence stepping into acquisitions and becoming an important part of the process, streamlining some of the activities that used to take a lot of time and that used to be very complex in nature, so that people can close deals faster and also, I would say, democratize the acquisition space a bit more. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it used to be that in order to see a lot of deals, execute on a lot of deals, you needed to have a huge team, analysis, advisors, all these sorts of things needed to be in place for you to succeed at acquisitions. Now, AI is democratizing that a little bit more because you now have access to a lot of data and you can analyze information much quicker thanks to AI. Even if you don't have access to a huge team, you cannot pay huge overheads, or you don't have access to premium and quality advisors. Now, AI is not becoming, not taking the place of these resources. It's just making the whole process more accessible to people that might be wanting to acquire a company on their own, or maybe small teams that want to grow and make multiple acquisitions. The whole thing is becoming much easier to handle, especially if you leverage AI in the right way. And I'm going to share with you how we are leveraging it in our business when we source deals on behalf of our clients to make the whole process much smoother and more effective overall. So, as I mentioned, data accessibility and analytics are two of the kind of like fields where AI can help the most. For example, in our business sourcing deals, we can now leverage AI to access data about business owners and companies quicker. The data is more accurate, and we need to spend less time researching information when we decide, okay, we want to help this client source deals in a particular geography, in a particular sector, ticket size, and so forth. It becomes much easier to leverage AI in that first part of the process because we don't need to do manual labor anymore, or at least not as much as we used to. And we can then come up with data that is quality and qualitative in nature, and then move on to the next step, which is the actual sourcing process. So that has streamlined our initial, let's say, onboarding for all the clients that want us to source deals on their behalf. And to some respect, it is also streamlining the process of conducting research for a lot of other companies, right? You can now use AI to access information and data in a very easy way without spending weeks or months researching a business. And I would say that is a good starting point. Of course, it shouldn't be used as the only tool for doing research and collecting data, but when you need to do surface level work and start a process, AI can really enhance your process and kind of like make it faster and easier to handle. Now, another thing that AI is helping us with, at least for our business that is sourcing deals, is streamlining the process of qualification for a target prospect, because we can now have AI interact with people in some instances where there's no need for human interaction, so that it can qualify prospects for us and book appointments on our behalf. And only when needed, humans step in and kind of like answer particular messages that might need, customized answers and a more in-depth understanding of the M&A process. So from a sourcing perspective and finding deals, AI is making it much easier to go from first conversation to booked appointment with a motivated seller, because we can now streamline the process, organize it in a very methodical way so that the process is more predictable and we can then track performance across a funnel instead of just having random activities that are going out trying to prospect for deals and ultimately not knowing what's happening and what kind of activity or what kind of action is producing the results that we're getting at the bottom of the funnel. So that is the second thing. Then there is the due diligence analysis part, which is something that of course we don't cover, but AI can help from that perspective. Again, from my personal experience at a very surface level for now. It will get better, but it shouldn't be looked at as a substitute for qualified advisors, at least in my experience, because again, it can do surface level analysis, but still it doesn't have the human understanding of a transaction or a business that an advisor or an advisory firm can potentially help you with. So that is something that people need to be aware of, and AI can be leveraged in certain aspects of the deal flow process, in this case due diligence, but you shouldn't rely on it 100% of the times. Another thing that I feel is important to mention about the AI kind of like automation process is that it enables us and it can enable you to create a system for sourcing deals that is not only faster, but has more leverage, which means you can use multiple channels to reach out to business owners. You can have sequences that nurture people that do not require you to be around, and they don't require you to hire staff or take on a big overhead, but they can still accomplish the same exact outcome, which means you can scale your deal flow pipeline almost indefinitely by leveraging these new tools and still be maybe a small team or just a one-man show that is looking to acquire a business or multiple businesses. So my perspective on AI is that it's helping creating a opportunity pipeline that is more structured, more organized, and more predictable in nature. And it enables even small teams to scale their output so that they can get more results at the bottom of the funnel. Now, with that advent and also with the capital accessibility that is now a thing in the market, having good deals is the only constraint that a lot of parties will face and that are currently facing. It doesn't matter if you're a private equity group, a search fund, an advisory firm. Quality deals are always the main issue, and funny enough, that's the problem we solve, right? Because we source deals on behalf of third parties. And with the advent of AI, there are going to be solutions that can support with that, but they cannot really be a substitute for an experienced team that knows how to leverage these tools to ultimately get the results that you need. Because again, AI is very good at handling technical tasks and helping you scale your pipeline. But if you don't know how to build it from a strategic standpoint, then all the instruments that you're going to use are going to be either redundant or not useful to you at all. So my outlook for 2026 is that deals are always going to be the constraint, especially because there are going to be more people chasing fewer deals. So the good deals are going to be less, and there are going to be more people chasing these transactions. More search funds, more private equity groups, companies that are going to look at smaller assets because they're less competitive. Everything is going to become like a gold rush to some respect. In having the ability to build a pipeline that is structured well from a strategic and a technical standpoint is going to make the difference between the ones that get the deals and the ones that don't get the deals. And keep in mind that everything that I'm discussing is about off-market deals. Of course, if you're working with intermediaries, that's a whole different game. I'm not going to discuss that because that's not what we do. But I'm talking about leveraging these tools and these infrastructures to find off-market deals, connect directly with business owners, and then nurture these relationships. And Getting back to my topic about AI, the off-market kind of like vertical, if we want to call it this way, is characterized by one thing. If you're building a relationship with a business owner, you're going to need to nurture that relationship for a longer period of time. To some respect, there's going to be an education process that you need to go through to first explain to him how the process works, then collect all the material that you need to analyze to understand if the business is worth buying, and all these sorts of things. So that used to be one of the hurdles that people were facing when sourcing deals off market, because they said, well, I'm going through a lot of hoops before I can actually understand if this company is worth buying. With AI, that is now being solved in a much easier way, because you can have AI solve for all these problems and kind of like streamline the nurturing process with the sellers, data collection, data analysis, and all these things, so that off-market deals become not only more accessible but also better for you, because they're of course less competitive. So I see AI stepping in and making people realize the value of off-market deals and the value of an off-market pipeline. You can build that on your own using the knowledge that you have acquired, about AI, or you can have somebody like us do that for you. We source deals for companies globally, private equity groups, search funds, strategic buyers, advisors. We build their pipeline so that they can focus all their time on closing deals, and we source them. So they basically get constant inflow of opportunities. They talk with these people, and they only need to focus about closing the transactions that we bring to them. So you can do that on your own if you feel that you have the knowledge and the experience to integrate AI into the system and make sure it handles the work for you. Or you can work with somebody like us that provides a strategic outlook and the technical setup for handling the process. Of course, you need to understand whether or not your current acquisition criteria are a fit for us. In that regard, you can check the link below if you want to find out more. Because we don't take on a lot of clients every month, we want to make sure we're aligned on that so we can get on a strategy call to understand whether or not we are a fit to work together, and whether we can help you leveraging this AI trend, if we want to call it this way, to streamline the process of sourcing deals so that you can find more and better deals in 2026 and hopefully close more transactions. So if you're interested in that, click the link below, and I will see you in the next one.